Thank you, thank you. That was a great introduction. You should have learned me English because now I'm here. Who of you don't speak Dutch? Very small minority. Stupid to talk English to. Well, okay, for you, I do it in English. Okay, who of you don't know, or who of you doesn't know, the word feasibility? Feasibility. Everybody, even all the Dutch, do. Great. This is the word I mean. Maybe I pronounce it wrongly. Why was paradise paradise? Because there was no choice. You didn't have to choose. That is, the choice was, do you want to live an unaware life in paradise, or do you want to live a life with a free will in a world that you create yourself? That one choice that Adam and Eve made caused that we nowadays have to make 1,000 choices or more each minute. No choice is paradise. Too many choices is hell. If you are with one of your children in a restaurant and you give them the menu, they're studying for hours what they will choose. And in the end, they make a decision, I want as a dessert that. And when they have decided, at the same moment, they see the waiter with another dessert and they start crying because they want to have that one. This is the problem of choosing. Was it for me the right choice to do this lecture in a language that isn't my own, for a very exquisite audience? I've never had such an exquisite audience as today. And with a very, very particular or maybe unparticular particular subject. To do that lecture in a language that sounds after breakfast like German after the war. How did I feel just a couple of minutes ago before entering the stage, I mean. Let me tell you a little about myself. You already started. I'm a comedian. I'm a comedian. Stupid thing to say. I'd be better off to say I'm a modern dancer, but I'm a comedian. For 60 years. I'm married with the same woman for 45 years. I told you I'm a comedian. I have 2 children. I have 3 grandchildren. I have 2 granddaughters. One is extremely smart. Just let me show you. Or we come to this later. One is extremely smart. She showed me this. She said, grandfather, do you know the table of 9? And she said, just count from 1 to 9. And then she said, just count backwards from 9 to 0. And then I put these 2 together, and there you have the table of 9. Granddaughter is 8 years old. She already knows this. It's incredible. And I have another granddaughter who is very, very, very funny and extremely socially gifted. So I have 2 brilliant, and then I have a grandson. But you know, he's more, the streetwise guy. He's very, very smart, very witty, as they say in parts of England, very witty. And I give you an example. I was sitting in my room. You can be on stage all day. I was sitting in my room, and now I have to go back. And I I was modeling a portrait of the king with little things that I found in my nose. I know the king very well. I was at his crowning, and I remember that I phoned him a couple of days later to ask him, how do you feel just after that crowning? How do you feel? Because, it's sort of less, well, we come back to that later. I skip this. I was sitting in my room modeling the portrait of the king with little things I found in my nose, and all of a sudden the door opened and my grandson walked in. I told you, very smart, first open the door and then walk in. And he had his hands cupped like this. He came all the way up to me and he said, "Look, Granddad, a dead bird." And I looked, and the boy was right. In his cupped hands lay a dead bird. And as a grandfather, you not only want to console your grandchildren, you also want to teach them. So I said, "Grandson, little boy, chap, good sport, do you know what kind of bird this is?" And then he started thinking for a while, and then he said, "Yes, Granddad, it's a dead bird." And then I started thinking about it, and I thought, the boy is right. The boy is right. Basically, there are only two kinds of birds. Of course, you have professors in the ornithology. I rehearsed for a couple of minutes yesterday, ornithology, who say there are more than 1,500 species of birds. Bullshit. Basically, there are two. And the funny thing is, there are also only two kinds of people. Living and dead. And you have people who are dead for 500 years, still living. And you have people living for 65 years already dead. And the boy is 10 years old, made this clear to me. He's a genius. He also brings those thousands questions a minute back to just one question. And that question is, to be or not to be? That's the only question that we have to answer. To be aware or not to be, which is live like an animal. Okay. The boy never heard of Shakespeare. What do we need if we go from me to we? In the first place, we need basic trust. And basic trust we can find in this rule: I am the other is me. I am the other is me. This has to be taught on elementary school. The first 2 years, they have to sort of make this clear to the children. I am the other. The one who is next to you is also I, and you are the other. So this is very, very important. And then basic trust lies in answering the question, am I allowed to be there? Am I allowed to be in this world? We have human rights, and we can just put away human rights and simply replace by the slogan, everybody has the right to basic trust. Basic trust means that you have a home, that you have food, that you have education, etc. Basic trust. Our doctrine is the upper selfism, and we should change that to otherism. That's the only doctrine we need. I showed you a picture of Mrs. Carol Dweck. She does research on the brains of children, and she has found that we have so-called growth mindset and we have fixed mindset. And the children with fixed mindset, they think that study to study has no use. You already, what you know, you don't know, and you won't be a better man by just studying. The growth mindset are the children who like to make, who know that making faults is not so bad. So they have more trust, more basic trust. This is her slogan. I would like to add "if" to it. If you're in charge of your own mind, you can help it grow by using it the right way. So this is when we want to go from me to we have to grow. My basic trust was destroyed by a teacher in the 5th grade of the elementary school. I love to draw mills, windmills, and one day he grabbed away my drawing and said, showing it to the class, "This is no mill." It took me 8 years to recuperate from that. 8 years. 8 years. After 8 years, I saw this. I saw this painting, and I saw the meaning of this painting. So all I had to do is write underneath my windmill, "This is not a windmill." And that's what we just saw. That's going from latent, as we say in Dutch, latent, maybe in English, I don't know, to talent, to talent. So, to live fully aware, the first question that you have to answer is, am I allowed to be? It's not only you who answers that question, but also the environment who says you are allowed to be here, which is of course very important. Secondly, what is needed to grow from me to we is discipline. And when I speak of discipline, I don't mean this.
This is my gun. This is for fighting. This is for fun. This is my rifle. This is my gun. This is for fighting. This is for fun. This is my rifle. This is my gun. This is for fighting. This is for fun. This is my rifle. This is my gun.
This discipline takes care that you can kill people on command. When I talk about discipline, I talk about intrinsic discipline, the discipline that you make yourself, that you find out yourself. That is answering the question, do I want to be there? Because as soon as you answer this question with yes, if you say, no, I don't want to be there, I wrote down something about that. No, I don't want to be there. Then there is no problem. Do whatever you like and put your trust in the welfare state. But if you say yes, you have to play the game of rules, which is discipline, the game of rules. And the guy who made this clear to me about discipline is this man, Bram Vermeulen. He was a volleyball international. Together we had a duo as comedians, and he was as I said, a sportsman, a top sportsman. And he had this intrinsic discipline, and he showed me that you have to pronounce and you have to make sure what is your purpose, and then we're gonna work on it. He is very, very important in my life. If you have answered, let's say this man, I don't know if you know him, this is our great sportsman, Yuri van Gelder. He was, with the last 8, he was Lord of the Rings in Holland with the last 8 on the Olympic Games. And then on one evening he went to the cafe and came back drunk, and he was sent back to Holland. So he had no he is 35, he had no intrinsic discipline. He needed a man behind him who said, no, come with me, don't do that. So that is Yuri. And in Holland we want all our top sporters to win every game, but if they are a little bit undisciplined, that must be possible. That must be. So Yuri became in one way this. Then we go to, let's look at this. Or I have black, I believe. No, I don't have, this is black. So if we have answered those two questions, am I allowed to be there? Do I want to be there? Then we maneuvered ourselves in a position that we can discipline ourselves. You're able to concentrate and focus. And because that concentration starts with intensively thinking of little, the pinnacle of concentration is fully thinking of absolutely nothing. Concentration is not answering a question. Concentration is the answer to the question. I am, therefore I think. To be is the answer. When you are concentrated, focused, there is no conflict between reality and fantasy. There is no obstacle by convention or feasibility. And there's no difference between theory and practice. During concentration, the wrong considerations are as important as the right ones. In fact, you learn the right way in the end after having made a few wrong turns. Wrong turns as a result of choices. The choices that you have to make in life, because it is not paradise where we live in. Basic trust, discipline and focus is all we need to go from me to we. Still, we have two unanswered questions. How did I feel about 15 minutes ago when I entered this stage? And how did the king feel a couple of days after the crowning? In the summer of '69, together with my friend Bram Vermeulen, you know the guy that you saw, the volleyball international, we performed in Zeeland. This is, as you see, the world. This is Holland, and this is Zeeland. I didn't know what audience to expect. So this is, and we performed here in Middelburg at Walcheren. And immediately after the performance, Bram went to the hotel because he had to play to Turkey in the weekend, and he had to be concentrated. And I thought, let's have a nightcap. The pubs in Zeeland close. This is for the foreign audience. The pubs in Zeeland close around 6 o'clock in the evening, and there's only one venue open 24/7, and that is in Vlissingen. Vlissingen is here, and that's not a pub. It is a club. It is the club of the Royal Flemish Pilots. And here with pilots, I do a little explanation because I'm not sure. In Dutch we say loods. And I hope I can ask it of you, is a loods the same as a pilot? No, yeah, it's also storage, yeah. Now you're making puns, but which is my... No, I mean you have a ship and there's the captain and there's someone in a very difficult... It's a pilot. Okay, from now on it's a pilot. So when I say pilot, you not think of an airplane, because then it's and even not of a storage. Pilot. So that's the club of the Royal Flemish Pilots. And a club, you must be a member. But as a famous Dutchman, our group was called Nederlands Hoop in Bange Dagen, which means in English Dutch Hope in Angry Days. I thought I can find my way in. So I rang the bell, and a little, how do you call this, went open. And a man said, "Who are you?" I said, "I'm Dutch Hope in Angry Days." And he said, "Come in," which was quite difficult because it was a very small. So I came in, and I came into a sort of a cafe with 2 billiards and a counter with a copper bar, and there was a pilot sleeping with a glass of beer in his hands, and I had to go to the toilet very strongly, and so I woke up the pilot. And I said, "Where is the toilet?" And he says, he stood up and said, "I'll show you." I said, "Is it that complicated?" He said, "Why? Why you ask?" I said, "No, the pilot has to bring me to the toilet." So we did. We joined each other at the toilet for a couple of minutes, which is always very special for men. So he became my friend just within. I hold his for a couple of minutes, and he, that's the intimity, man ham. And we went back to the cafe, and we started talking and drinking strongly, heavily, much, one after another. And after 2 hours, the barkeeper was, the pilot was already with his head on the counter like this. And then the barkeeper came in panic. His head was swollen and red like this. And he said, "We have a problem. A ship arrived here on the Westerschelde here and that ship had to go to Antwerp as soon as possible because it had a load of nuclear waste aboard, and it had to go to Antwerp as soon as possible." He was really in panic. And there was just one pilot, and the rest of the pilots was in Antwerp. And this one, he was not particularly, his basic thrust was okay. But his discipline, 0, and his concentration below 0. So what should we do? I said to the barkeeper, to the waiter, I said, "Give me a cup of strong coffee." He gave me a cup of strong coffee, and I threw it in the face of the pilot. Which worked. His concentration was in no time be above 0. And I said, "Give me another cup of coffee," and I threw it in his face, and a couple of sugar lumps, and a little, and just a couple of lines of milk powder, which he. I said, and I asked him, "Are you able to go?" "Yes, let's go." And he said, "You go with me." I go with you. I said, "What can I be?" He said, "It's for my basic trust that you go with me." So who would I be to refuse that? So together we were aboard of this colossal ship. This. I've never seen a thing like this. Unbelievable. We stepped over the railing. We stepped over the railing, and the pilot told me, "I go to the toilet." I said, "I'm going to join you," but at the same time, somebody grabbed me in my collar and brought me to the bridge of the ship. And there was a second officer, stuurman. There was a matroos. What? Yeah, there was a sailor. And there was a captain. I don't know if you know Kuifje. There's a little bit this captain. And the captain, as soon as I entered the bridge, the captain shouted, "The fuck to Antwerp!" And I said, "I beg your pardon?" "The fuck to Antwerp!" I said, "I'm sorry, I'm a comedian. If you want to hear a joke, no problem. I can entertain you for a couple of hours. That's no problem at all. I can dance, I can do anything you like, but I cannot pilot. The fuck to Antwerp!" And this second officer, he had a face. He had something on his face. He said, "Do something, anything." So I grabbed the steering wheel, but at the same time I stepped back. He said, "Listen, I'm a comedian. The pilot is just arriving. The fuck to Antwerp!" Which was, panic. And I cannot do this. And then the captain went to a cupboard on the side. He opened a drawer, and he took a revolver or a gun. Let's say a gun. I don't know if revolver is the right thing. And he put that thing here on my left sleeve. How do you call this sleeve? He put it on the left side of my head here, and he said with a lot of water, "The fuck no, Antwerp." And there I stood. I show you a picture. This is the Westerschelde. This is the water. And you can see here how dangerous. This is one of the most complicated routes to which harbor in the world. This is hell. This is unbelievable dangerous. And here you see Borsele. There you see Borsele. That's Borsele. There we have a nuclear plant. So if this nuclear waste is going to fuse with the enriched uranium at the nuclear, an environmental disaster, an un-European disaster. Terrible, but yeah. So I took the steering wheel. Sweat was dripping down my face. I had no experience at all. I once rowed a boat, but then you're with your back to the purpose, so that's not dangerous at all. I had no theoretical knowledge whatsoever. I didn't have any practical experience. But I had to. Well, this is how our king felt 2 days after the crowning. And this is in a way how I felt entering the stage a couple of minutes ago. But now we are here. Now we are here. And you know exactly how we feel now. How you feel, how I feel. And the funny thing is, I grabbed the steering wheel and I started, I said, full force forward. And the sailor, he just, there we went. And I was, in the beginning, just very, very, very shy and very. But after a couple of minutes, we didn't hit anything under the water. I made a little pirouette, smiled at the captain, raised my thumb. He lowered his gun. And then all of a sudden, after I don't know what time, after a couple of minutes, half an hour maybe, all of a sudden, the light came up behind us. And if you ever sailed from Flushings to Antwerp and the light starts coming up behind you, there's something definitely wrong. So, made me a little shy. And it became a clear day, and we looked around, and so I must have done something well at some stage. And well, we were at the open sea. And at the open sea, you find out that to be is the answer. There is balance. This is our great gymnastic star, Sanne Wever. She won gold on the Olympics on the balance bar. I don't know if you call this a balance bar, but this is the top. This is the top of basic trust, discipline, and concentration. Don't be afraid. You can start all over. firmly focused, or searching shyly, hesitant? Just stick to the rules or follow your own intuition. Explore the world your way or grab a guiding hand. Don't be afraid of big dreams. Go if you are determined. And if you're not sure, wait. How vain is the art of planning. Surprises arrive at the right time. The expected is often too early or too late. Don't be afraid of what people think of you. How dare you judge someone else if you don't know who you are? Don't lose your origin by capturing too fast. Life seems very alternately, but love is as common as bizarre. Don't be afraid, we are one of many. And at the same time, there's only one like you and me. That means that very often we have to share. And sometimes we have to say, just let me free. Thank you very much.